Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of How to Sell Your Vision. My name is Moti Elkaim, and I'm the host of this podcast series. As always, our goal is one and simple: to bring you founders who successfully raised money in today's market and investors who can share their insight from the other side of the table on what it takes to persuade them to invest in your company. And today's guest, Ori Sagie, will actually be able to give us both perspectives. As a serial entrepreneur with multiple exits in his resume, and the founder and the owner and managing partner at Sagie Ventures, Ori exited and invested in companies along his career, and I'm sure he's going to have some powerful insight to share with us today. Ori, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Martin. Nice to.
Absolutely. So, Ori, tell us a little bit about Sagie Ventures, if you don't mind, in a couple of words, for all the founders who are listening here and will say, okay, I want to interact with Ori. What they should know about? What should they know about you?
So, Sagie Ventures is an outcome of 20 years of work, right? So, I've been, as you said, an entrepreneur, but also an investor, and I created company, but also helped growing companies, primarily in the real estate and what we call prop tech, climate tech kind of environment in the US. So my entire work has been over the last 25 years in the US market. So I'm well familiar with the US market and the things that are needed to take a light bulb at 3 a.m. and turn it into a company. Sagie Ventures currently is looking at companies that are in trajectory for growth, that they have a substantial or a solid foundation for growth in terms of revenue, customers, and reasonable technology to allow that growth. Would like to see companies that have proved a certain need, but more so proved capabilities. I think many of the ventures that we see around are failing because of people. It's not necessarily the product. It's the lack of management, which for me, it's an opportunity because we invest and buy and look into companies to kind of do that. But primarily real estate technology, electrification, most of it, but I'm open to other things as well. But my focus is electrifying the built environment.
Beautiful. So you're primarily engaged with companies or startups that are a bit more ripe. If we'll have to put it in terms, probably post-seed, A round, and so. But once they're ripe in terms of management, they've proven the concept, and they are ready to scale. Sounds very good. Let me start with the hard question, and then we'll go to the easier questions later.
I might ask you to help me answer that, but okay.
If you had to give one insight to founders in your profile, in the profile that you just described, one insight that will make their pitch more powerful, more convincing, what would that one golden nugget be?
That's the $1 million question. I think for me, what helps me, even when I'm putting together, I think clarity. Clarity means there's a lot of talks about brand. What is brand, right? I'm taking a different stab at it. A good brand pretty much represents when you see the brand or when you see anything that's associated with the brand, you understand exactly what this company is trying to tell you. You don't need to guess. And brand creates association. Brands create some energy that makes me want to be associated with that brand or not want to be associated with that brand. Same goes to a pitch deck or to the founder or somebody who's pitching. They don't know you. They don't know anything about you, supposedly, or about your business. So you got to make sure that you have a clear view of exactly what you want to do. Less jargons, less fluff, less things, like a very simple. By the way, I'm not one of those people who thinks that you have to have a 4-slide deck. You can have 25-slide deck, as long as the 25-slide deck walks you through like a hand by hand, understanding why are we on slide 18? Why is it here? So I think first you got to understand what are you trying to achieve, what are you trying to get, how you're going to get there, and what do you need to get there, and then roll back and show me that path moving forward. But again, super simple, tangible, real life examples, real life solutions, and make it as simple and potentially as precise and short as possible.
And from your experience, I love what you're saying here. Clarity is super key, especially when you're building your story. As you said, slide 1 needs to lead to slide 18 in a very coherent way. Where do you see most of the friction point in that clarity that are coming into place? Is that in the numbers? Is that in the flow of the story? Where do you feel founders are losing a sense of clarity, and why?
Most of founders losing it, myself included. It's a habit of us. When something is born in our head or something we associate, we want to show how great it is, right? So most of the problems founders have is they don't know when to stop. They don't know when to stop selling, quote unquote. So you got to understand what your core value of your product is and just build around that. You don't have to show. I mean, the great example is, which I love. If you remember, like 20 years ago, there was the ads for Apple and Microsoft. So there was that guy that make jokes, make
On the
fun
white
of.
background, yeah.
Correct. So and it was brilliant because you saw Windows on one hand with a box selling whatever if it was a phone, like whatever that was, a computer, and tons of stickers on it and features, and we do this and we do that, and then you have with just white box, one item and three features, which kind of summarize this whole thing, and that's exactly that. Because if you look at Windows packaging and you look at 500 features, 300, like, you know what I mean? You look at multiple features, multiple things, you kind of get lost and you said, okay, it's cool, but what do I need it for? With Apple, it's pretty clear, pretty straightforward. So I think that's kind of the things that don't overload, like don't try to say we can do everything. Even if you think you can do everything, even if you're about to do everything in your vision, focus on the core and just to say, okay, I'm doing 1, 2, 3. Forget about, I know you want to do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you want to show that you can do it. Everybody understands. But let's just talk about 1, 2, and 3. Make sure that the foundation of what you're about to do is strong enough and good enough.
It's interesting because I think, and I'm working with a lot of founders as well, and one of the key things we're discussing is to make it chewable, right? Even if your vision is super big, this is where you want to take it, you have to break it down to chewable pieces in order for someone to fully digest it. If you're just giving it as a big chunk, then someone is going to choke on it.
Yeah.
And you have to break it down properly. And I think that the way you're saying it, don't overload product features. Don't fall in love with your product. Don't fall in love with your pitch to begin with. Just understand how you deliver your message in a very clear way. And I've seen it happen all the time. Brilliant people, brilliant founders are just so vested in their product and in technology that they forget the need to connect people to their pitch.
Correct. And I think there's many ways to kind of, I have a lot to say about valuations, companies, and trends, but maybe we'll talk about it later. But I think the overall, at the end of the day, we're making something to generate something, right? There has to be an outcome. There has to be a logic to why it's being created, what's the value it's generating, and obviously what's the outcome of that, right? So if you cannot articulate exactly what's your business model, what's your vision, and what you kind of do, and you kind of use a lot of fluff or a lot of big words or a lot of big inspirations to kind of justify the supposedly $100 million valuation that you think you're worth, that's where you kind of lost. I always like to say you didn't have to talk too much about the apple. You bought an apple for $1. You made it really, really, really nice. And you went outside and you sold it for $1.50. You didn't have to show that the world of apples is worth $1 trillion. And if you eat apples, your digestion system, like it's a very self-explanatory thing, right? So you got to have clarity of what is the thing you're holding in your hand, what's the purpose of you creating it or doing it, and what's the outcome of you doing it, who's benefiting for that, right? And you have to show that you bought an apple for $1 and you're able to sell it for $1.50. Otherwise, and
As simple
otherwise,
as that.
as simple as that. Because I don't care if in your stores you're going to have posters with signs of other fruit makers that kind of pay the rent. But if your store is an Apple store, just show me that you can buy an apple for $1 and you can sell it for $1.50 over and go over and over again. And show me how you make sure that whoever bought that first apple will come back and buy it again. So I know it's super simplifying the thing, but in reality, that's what it is. Because we're falling in love with technology terms. We're falling in love with technology process, even AI. Every AI is yet to be even. I'm amazed by AI. I'm using it a lot, and ChatGPT 4 and O or whatever that is. But just as a tool, it's a brilliant researcher for me. It's a brilliant assistant. But taking something that is well advanced in technology because evolution got us there and now glorifying it around unneeded business models or terms or valuations or dropping it in every line. Oh yeah, we're making a coffee shop, but don't worry, it's going to be AI based. Like, keep it true, keep it simple. And the fact that you're using technology to make your operation better is not the actual value that you're generating. It's value in the process of what you're trying to do. You understand what I'm saying? So
100%. 100%. Because, at the end of the day, I think, and let me know if you can relate to it as an investor, you don't really invest in the technology, you invest in the process transformation, right? The technology is the aid. You're coming to fix something, the technology is the booster that will allow you to fix it. But if the
correct.
process transformation is not there, if I can't understand why you can sell that apple for 150, then all the technology in the world is not going to help you.
Correct. Exactly that. And I think yes, there is a lot of value for, I don't think not you or me are discounting technology, right? We're not doing that. What we're saying is, yes, we live in like that's almost a miracle what's happening to us around now with all the deep learning, and the AI. Amazing. But it's still only doing one thing. It enables me to do my job better. It
Yeah.
enables my company to run better. It enables my customers, sorry, to have a better product, react better to them. So it's all comes back to the same cycle of what tools and services and technologies I need to use in order to optimize my launch, exposure, go to market, penetration, growth, sustainability, and retention. So everything I just said back in the day, it was manual. We have to run, we have to write on cards, we have to we have to do fact. Now you can actually semi-automate it. Soon you're going to be able to almost fully automate a lot of what I'm saying. But it's still me at the beginning of the process, leaner, smaller, more efficiently operating, and the customer on the other hand.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like
100%.
the fact that they're saying that everybody's curious to see what's the next $1 trillion company that will be only managed by two people. I see that. I don't think it will get there, but because there's a lot of variables within, like customer care. You always need the touch. You always need the voice. You always need the validation. It's like you cannot have a Michelin star restaurant operated by robots. You have to have the chef that's going around and touching the food, making sure that it's exactly what he needs to
The
have.
ingredients are fresh and you need to buy it from the market. Exactly.
So it's the same business. Everywhere it's the same business. We're just glorifying because we want to justify valuations, we want to justify trends, we want to be cool, we want to be rich, we want to be on paper, we want to be so many things that the tech world gives us. By the way, not rightfully so. So because If you and I make a research for the over the past 5 years of all the unicorns and all those technologies and process, we know the stats. Like it's 99%
Right.
of them have failed.
Right.
So and if you look and down, if you look at why they failed, is because there was nothing there that to justify. There's a lot of
And by
good
the way,
companies
even
that.
today, most AI apps in production fail. It's only
Mhm.
the 15 to 20% of apps that are really dominating the market, but the other ones, they're not
Yeah.
scaling to where everyone thinks that they're going to scale.
And also generally, not even deep tech, generally even business like technologies and listen, Envoy was everybody like, oh, why did you sell? Because I'm now in a process of acquiring a similar operation and growing it to where things. So I'm buying a company and I want to grow it to where my vision for Envoy was. And you got to know as a founder and a CEO, not sometimes it's not the same person, but in my case it was, when to realize that the current structure that you're in is not the right one for this company. Maybe for you in relation to the company, maybe for the company in relation to its investors, maybe to the company in relation to its customers, whatever that is. But as a CEO, your goal is to ensure stability, operational stability, to ensure ability to grow, whether if it's fast or slow, depends on the resources that you have. You got to ensure that everybody around you are as happy as you are. And, there's as a parent, my wife always have to say, you're always as happy as your sad, as your least happy
Saddest
kid.
pal. Yeah.
And that's a reflection of not that I think companies are families, but I think that the overall, if you're part of a mission, a part of a group that is driven or is have a purpose to go somewhere, there's a way to do it, to have a good company versus less good company. So there's a lot of moving parts, but I think uh, um, it goes back to what we said at the beginning. You have to have a clear view of where you're heading, and if you don't know, or let's say the obstacles are coming, stop, breathe, reprioritize your things. For example, I'm helping company. I helped a company that it has a month of runway, right? But he has a good product and he has good revenue and he has just not as good management as or a key team player. And we were able to turn things around and reshape them in a way where now he has 6 months of runway without touching or interfering with the customer wouldn't even know. The team morale is great. And so you got to be always doing your check and balances, but very realistically. Don't always wait for the big contract that's coming or for the big article that's coming over there. Like, what is it today? What do I need to operate? How much money do I need to operate? What do I have? Where do I cut? What's my goals? Like, you see, I'm very realistic. Like, I'm very kind of, what in Hebrew, you and I know the word tachlis. It's kind of, it has to be, it's a business, right?
Yeah.
We gotta be real.
And so if I'm kind of reading what you're just saying, when you're looking at founders in the stages you're supporting, you're investing in, you're really looking for that stability, the health of the company, the ability to grow. It's more of the early stage hustling, grinding kind of components that in early stage investors are looking for. You're saying, okay, I'm investing in a company and I want to see that persona in front of me has the right attributes to make that company prosper in the long run.
I I I um I believe that successes are made because of literally. I believe management, especially founders, CEO, especially if it's co-founders, by the way. I believe that let's assume for a second we have a clear product, we have a clear business model, and we have a clear technology, and you have a clear TAM, or not TAM. TAM is too much, but an actual addressable market. Like you know where you're going, right? Um, the reason it's going to fail is because of lack of the top, either ego, either too much too big of inspirations, lack of focus, etc. So definitely when I'm looking at companies, but I think the main key is who's running this ship, who's running the show. And to your point, are they afraid of obstacles? Are they afraid of hard times? Are they creative enough to go around them? Are they motivated? Not, and motivated is everybody's, like if I'm a founder and CEO, I'm motivated, right? But that doesn't mean that I'm rightfully motivated to do what's needed to
Right.
get down of, like, you know what I mean? Cut people, like cut
100%.
jobs, remove a feature, get out of a region. Like there's a lot of different things that require us to do so. But I believe that in a simple conversation with the founder and a CEO, two or three conversations, looking at their business, you'll realize if that's the guy that can take it or not.
There is a saying that I like, and I think it resonates with what you just said. There are two kind of types of founders: those who are motivated to be right, and those who are motivated to be successful. And if
Yeah,
you're motivated to be right, then you're going to miss a lot of success opportunities along the way. And if you have the breadth, the depth of breadth, as you just mentioned, then you're not going to be fixated on what you think is right. You'll have the agility to navigate right and left when needed in order to grow the business.
correct. And I think there was an article back in the day, I believe it was Harvard, um, about do you want to be rich or you want to be a king? And that's exactly it. Most founders want to be a king. Most founders should want to be
I love this.
rich, because, and I that's a say always to say, I don't care about being a king. I just want to be quote unquote rich, right? So successful, and create an outcome that is successful from an idea. And listen, entrepreneurship is a cool thing. Like it's a miracle. Entrepreneurship, it's like painting on a canvas. My wife used to laugh and say Ori is walking with a white canvas and he can see opportunities all around. And it's like a painter, right? He sits in front of a bench, in front of a view, and he sees five different paints that he can draw. That's a true entrepreneur. Like entrepreneur doesn't know how to sit, and they know how to sit, but they know how to look. So I feel it's a gift, and I feel it's something you should cherish, and I think it's something that you should do, not because you want only financial independency, because you actually want to create something that creates something. uh,
Right.
uh, and I have that virus in me. Like I love those things, but it's a big sacrifice and it requires a lot, I think.
Right.
uh, as to your point, a lot of people are doing it because, oh, there's a great thing. I can do an exit for $100 million in 3 years. No, you can't. Like, no, you have to,
Yeah.
you need to get into it because you feel that that's what you want to do and that's where you want to take it. And that's, to your point, that's exactly the distinguisher between dreamers and doers, kings and rich, blah, 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 all those things that are, you know what I mean? The things that are, and you can see that it's I mean, I don't know if it's because I'm old and somewhat experienced, but I can tell you right away, especially if
Within a second.
I can tell you, and I'm wrong a lot of, like, I'm not always right, but I'm saying you can, and I'm sure you are as well. You see, you
Right.
feel, and things like that.
It's it's interesting. I want to take you back to something you said, and there was this little spark in your eye when you said, "Let's talk about valuation later." And I have a feeling that you're very passionate about market size and valuation and all of that. But you said something to me that was very interesting. You said actual addressable market, and I
Yeah,
think that TAM is dead. I'm not a big believer in TAM. There is no reason to point out TAM in
no,
investor pitches, right? Because
no.
there's not a single company on the planet in the Western world that achieved TAM. If you achieve TAM, you're a monopoly.
Hmm.
Now, so there's no reason to go about it. And I think that the serviceable, obtainable market, there are definitions that are not driving the point. And I love what you said, giving the actual addressable market. Just be real. Let's talk about kind of this last question of this podcast: valuation, market sizes. How do you think companies, especially in your stages, in the stages you're investing, should introduce those opportunities and the market sizes?
I think it's the addressable market, but in a way that, so when you say I want to build a thing, right? I want to build a product. This is what I'm going to do. You got to say who you're doing it for, right? And who is your target customer. And then very clearly you can show. I like to use kind of a roadmap, execution roadmap. You can show like a 5-year path of saying, okay, this is the regions that I wanna go to, and these are the amounts of immediate businesses that I can attract. So it's almost of it's not a total addressable market, but it's the tangible addressable market, right? It's a different tab. It's a tangible addressable market because it's kind of like, and again, it depends on industry. Because, for example, online is different than physical. Like it's a very broad. Uh, it's very hard to kind of point towards one thing. But even in online, because online has a much bigger exposure, right? That's what we call the hockey stick, which you cannot expect from tech-enabled operations. Tech-enabled operations are different than technology-based operation, like the you know what I mean? The things that are digitally only online. So I think in both. So I'm going to touch on the tech-enabled world versus the thing. On the tech-enabled world, I think it's literally, think of me asking you who you're selling it to. Okay, so who's your next customer, and how you're going to grow from there. And by you showing that, for example, Envoy I'll give an example. In the US, our goal is to be in, I'm just using, in the 15 main urban cities across the US. Each of them has roughly about 10 buildings that are class A, 20 buildings that are class B. We feel that class A is the most relevant one for phase 1, 2, and 3. So if you accumulate all of that, we have about 30 buildings within those 15, you know what? But it
Right.
has to show.
Very
It's
logical path. Right.
almost as you hire a sales director or whatever the title you want to give him, right? And you guys are sitting together. Okay, who are you going after? It goes back to the apple, right? It's all the same. Like it goes back to the apple of like, what are we doing? Who are we selling? So it's one Adam Neumann will come and tell you, no, I want to go back in 2010. I want to do millennials. I want to be first in every city. I want to open one. I don't want to open 5 and then go to the next 5 to the next one. So that's a whole strategy, which I believe in, by the way. I think he did a brilliant overall execution. But just an example of him saying, this is where I'm going. I want to be in those neighborhoods, addressing that type of people, that radius of from their living, and I want to do it in every major city in the world. But that's a path that you understand potentially what thing.
Right.
I can give you on and on example, but you understand.
Right.
Imagine us sitting and saying, who are we selling it to? What is my first customer, and then how do I grow from there?
Beautiful. Ori, listen, that was fascinating. I gotta tell you, I really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you.
I typically
Thank
do
you.
those podcasts at about 20 minutes, and I just kind of organically went with the flow, and I have nothing else to say, but it was fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. For all of those ripe, I would say, founders who are in the right positioning to reach out to Sagie Ventures, I think you got a good piece of Ori's insight and DNA. And I'm sure, Ori, that you're going to feel comfortable with people reaching out to you if they feel there is a fit based on this podcast. So feel free
I
to do
I
so.
uh,
Yeah.
I thank you so much for that. And generally, I think, and I that's a passion of mine. I love. I'm helping actually 3 founders who are actually just coming up with a product. So as far as investment goes or things, it's more on the growth. But it's um if somebody has a question about penetrating the US market, creating an idea or things like that, and need some guidance, fundraising and things like that, I wouldn't don't yeah, you can feel free to reach out. It doesn't have to be it's a stage agnostic, let's put it. It's more of the person helping the person moving forward than anything.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Ori, thank you so much. And thank you for everyone who is tuning into this episode. Stay tuned for how to sell your vision.
Thank you so much, Moti. It was nice talking to you, and we'll talk soon.